In this video, we're going to do the KutaSoftware Infinite Algebra 1 free worksheet finding slope from an equation. Our directions are to find the slope of each line. The easiest way to do this is to think of the slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals m times x plus b. So for y equals mx plus b, y and x are your variables, which when graphing would be a coordinate, x comma y. B is your y-intercepts, so where this line intersects the y-axis, and m is the slope. So looking at the first equation, we have y equals negative 5 halves x minus 5. This is already in the form of y equals mx plus b. So the slope is this negative 5 halves, because that's our m. So the answer to number 1 is negative 5 halves. Let's go over to number 2. Again, we're using y equals mx plus b, and number 2 is already in that format. So we're locating our m, or our slope, which is negative 4/3. So negative 4/3 is the answer for number 2. Number 3, again, it's in the form of y equals mx plus b, but remember, negative x is the same as negative 1 times x. So really, we have y equals negative 1x plus 3. So in this case, our slope is negative 1. And our y-intercept would be that positive 3. For number 4, y equals mx plus b, our b is a negative 1, and our slope m is a negative 4. So negative 4 is the answer for number 4. Number 5, we have 2x minus y equals 1. This is not in slope-intercept form, so we're going to rewrite this equation. In order to do that, we're going to move the 2x to the other side. So we're subtracting 2x from both sides. So we'll be left with negative y equals 1 minus 2x. So I'm just going to rewrite this order and say negative 2x plus 1. We're almost to slope-intercept form, except that this y is negative. And in order to remove a negative, we're going to multiply both sides by negative 1. So when we multiply both sides by negative 1, we'll get a positive y is equal to, distributing the negative 1, that's equal to negative 2x times negative 1, which is a positive 2x, plus negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Now we have y equals mx plus b, where our b is negative 1, and our m is that positive 2. So 2 is the answer for number 5. Going on to number 6, again we're going to have to rewrite this. So let's go ahead and isolate the y. So we're going to move the x to the other side by subtracting the x, and we'll get that 2y equals a negative x minus 8, or plus a negative 8, however you want to write that. Now we need to divide both sides by a positive 2 to isolate the y. That'll give us y on the left-hand side, and that's going to be equal to, splitting up this fraction, negative 1/2 x minus 8 over 2. So you can see I just rewrote this as negative x over 2 minus 8 over 2. And I know that negative x over 2 is the same as negative 1/2 x. So now we're in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where that b is actually a negative 4, since 8 divided by 2 is a positive 4, and we're subtracting. And our m is going to be negative 1/2. For number 7, we have 8x plus 3y equals a negative 9. We need to isolate the y in order to get it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. In order to do that, we're going to subtract an 8x from both sides. We'll have 3y on the left-hand side, and that's going to be equal to a negative 8x minus 9, or you could say plus a negative 9. Now, our last step is to divide by a positive 3. And when we divide by 3 on the left, we have to divide by 3 on the right. So we'll get y on the left-hand side, so now the y is isolated, and that's going to be equal to negative 8x over 3 plus a negative 9 over 3. So negative 8x over 3, which is negative 8/3 x, plus a negative 9 over 3. Now that our equation is in the form of y equals mx plus b, we can see that our slope is at negative 8/3. And I'll go ahead and stop this video here. Remember to like my video, subscribe to my channel, and continue on to the next video where we'll do more problems for this worksheet, finding slope from an equation. In this video, we're going to continue on with finding slope from an equation worksheet on the KutaSoftware website, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you know how to access this worksheet. Our directions are to find the slope of each line. Our goal is to get that equation in the form of y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form. So picking back up with number 8, we have 4x plus 5y equals negative 10. We're going to start by subtracting 4x from both sides because we want to isolate this y. Doing this, we'll get 5y equals negative 4x plus a negative 10. Now we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. So we'll get that y on the left-hand side is equal to negative 4x over 5 plus negative 10 over 5. So that's negative 4x over 5, which is the same as negative 4/5 x, plus negative 10 over 5. We can simplify this more, however, we're already in slope-intercept form, and we can see that our slope m is negative 4/5. So negative 4/5 is the answer for number 8. In number 9, we're going to subtract x from both sides to get that negative y is equal to negative x plus negative 2. Now this y has a coefficient of negative 1, and we want the coefficient to be a positive 1. So in order to do that, or get rid of the negative, we're going to multiply both sides by negative 1. When we multiply the right side by negative 1, we're going to need to distribute that to the x and to the negative 2. So on the left-hand side, we'll have a positive y, and on the right, we'll have a positive x plus a positive 2. Since negative 1 times negative x is a positive x, and negative 1 times negative 2 is a positive 2. So since y equals x plus 2, x is the same as 1 times x, so our slope is 1. In number 10, 4x minus 3y equals 9. Start by subtracting 4x from both sides. Then we'll have negative 3y equals negative 4x plus 9. Divide both sides by negative 3 to get that y is equal to negative 4x over negative 3, which is the same as 4/3 x, plus 9 over negative 3, which is a negative 3. Now that this looks like y equals mx plus b, our m is 4 over 3. So our slope for number 10 is 4/3. In number 11, we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. We'll have 2y equal to negative 3x plus 6. Then we'll divide by a positive 2. So we'll have y equal to negative 3 times x over 2, which is negative 3 halves x, plus 6 over 2, which is 3. Now that it's in slope-intercept form, you can see that the slope is equal to negative 3 halves for number 11. In number 12, we have 4x minus 5y equals 0. Let's start by subtracting 4x from both sides. When we do that, we'll have negative 5y equal to negative 4x plus 0, which is simply negative 4x. Then, divide both sides by negative 5. And doing this, we'll have y isolated on the left side of the equation, and that's going to be equal to negative 4x over negative 5, which is the same as positive 4/5 x. Now the equation's in slope-intercept form because the b is simply 0, so that means our slope is a positive 4/5. Let's move on to number 13. In 13, we have y equals negative 1. This is already in slope-intercept form. You could rewrite this if you wanted to as y equals 0x plus negative 1. So our b is that negative 1, and our m, since there's not an x in this equation, our m would be 0. So the slope for y equals negative 1 is 0. You can also think if y is equal to negative 1, on our graph, we would just have a horizontal line. And we know that whenever there's a horizontal line, the slope is equal to 0. In number 14, we have x plus 5y equal to negative 15. Subtract x from both sides, so you get that 5y equals a negative x plus a negative 15. Then we're going to divide both sides by 5 in order to isolate that y, and that's going to be equal to negative x over 5, which is negative 1/5 times x plus negative 15 over 5 is a negative 3. We can see that our slope is negative 1/5 for number 14. And I'll do one more problem, number 15, and then I'll stop there, and in the next video, we'll do number 16 through 22. But before I do the answer to this, please go ahead, give a thumbs up on this video, and when it's over, subscribe to my channel. So for number 15, we have negative 2y minus 10 plus 2x equals 0. Our goal is still to isolate the y so that we're in slope-intercept form. But instead of moving all of this to the other side, let's just move the y to the other side. So we're going to add 2y to both sides. So negative 2y plus 2y will be 0, so we'll be left with negative 10 plus 2x on the left, and that's equal to a positive 2y on the right. Then divide both sides by positive 2 in order to isolate that y, and you'll get that negative 10 over 2, so that's going to be negative 5, plus 2x over 2, so that's the same as 1x, which is x, and that's going to be equal to a positive y. So if you want to change the order, we can flip this and have y equal to x plus negative 5. So you can see that our slope for number 15 is a positive 1, because 1 times x is x. And also, as a reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. In this video, we're going to finish up finding slope from an equation worksheet on KutaSoftware website, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Our directions are to find the slope of each line, and we know that our slope is that m, so the coefficient of x, when we have it in the form of y equals mx plus b. So let's continue where we left off with number 16. In number 16, we have x plus 5 plus y equals 0. We need to isolate the y, so let's go ahead and subtract y from both sides to get that by itself. We'll have x plus 5 on the left, and that's going to be equal to a negative y on the right. We want this y to not be negative, but instead be positive. So we're going to multiply both sides by a negative 1 in order to get y by itself and positive. So when we multiply by a negative 1, we need to distribute that on the left-hand side. That'll leave us with a negative 1x plus negative 5 equal to a positive y. If you want to rewrite this, you can write the y on the left-hand side, just flip the equation around. So you can say that y equals negative 1x plus negative 5. And from this, you can see our m is negative 1. So our slope is negative 1 in number 16. In number 17, all we have to do is divide by negative 4. And doing that, we'll get 3x over negative 4, which is negative 3/4 x, plus 20 over negative 4, which is negative 5, and that's equal to a positive y. So y equals mx plus b, so you can see our slope is negative 3/4 for number 17. In number 18, we're just going to divide by negative 5 on both sides. In doing this, we get negative 15 over negative 5, which is a positive 3, minus x over negative 5, which is the same as 1 over negative 5 times x, but since we're subtracting that, we're really adding that 1/5 x. And that's equal to a positive y. So our slope for number 18 is 1/5. Y equals mx plus b. In number 19, I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Doing this, we'll leave me with 2x minus 1 on the left, and that's equal to a positive y on the right. So we have y equals mx plus b. So our m, or our slope, is a positive 2. In number 20, this is already in the form of y equals mx plus b. But if you want to rewrite it, you can say y equals negative 1x, or negative x, plus a negative 1, or minus 1. So remember, a negative x is the same as negative 1 times x, so our slope is at negative 1. In number 21, I'm just going to add x to both sides at the start. Doing this will leave me with x on the left, and that's equal to 5y on the right. Then I'll just divide both sides by 5. So we'll have 1/5 x is equal to y. So we have our y, and that's equal to mx plus our b, which would be 0. So our slope is 1/5. And lastly, number 22. Negative 30 plus 10y equals negative 2x. We're going to add 30 to both sides. So we'll have 10y equals negative 2x plus 30. Then divide by 10 on both sides. So we get that y equals negative 2/10 x plus 30 over 10. Or you could say plus 3, since 30 divided by 10 is 3. So our m is equal to that negative 2/10. However, negative 2/10 can be simplified to negative 1/5. So our slope for number 22 is negative 1/5. And that wraps up the worksheet, Finding Slope from an Equation. I'll have a link in the description below of how to access this worksheet. Go ahead and comment if you have any questions, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.